The day my grandma decided we were all going to a quick family yard sale. My aunt got caught selling things that weren't hers. My cousin tried to secretly buy back her own stuff. My brother made $20 by lying to strangers. And by the end of the afternoon, my mom was standing in the driveway saying, "If one more person touches that box, I'm leaving." And somehow, the whole disaster started because Grandma said we had too much clutter. It was a Sunday morning, and I should have known peace was never going to last because the first thing I heard when I woke up was Grandma clapping her hands downstairs like some kind of tiny military commander. Not normal clapping either, sharp, angry clapping. The kind that means she has already made a decision for everyone, and now the rest of us are just unlucky enough to find out. I checked my phone. It was 8:04 a.m., too early for anything good. Then Noah texted me from downstairs, and all it said was, "Grandma wants a yard sale. Pray for us." I got up, went downstairs, and immediately saw folding tables in the driveway. Folding tables. Do you understand how bad that is? Nobody sets up tables at 8 in the morning unless they're planning something evil. Grandma was standing outside in a cardigan, like she was preparing for battle. My mom looked half awake and emotionally defeated. Ryan was dragging boxes out of the garage with the face of a man who knew he should have pretended to be sick earlier. Melissa had a coffee in one hand and a bad attitude in the other. Alicia was filming little clips of the setup like she thought she was above the experience. Sophie kept asking if any of her stuff was in the boxes, which probably should have told us something right away. Emma was sitting on the porch steps, eating cereal out of a mug, and watching everybody like this was live entertainment created specifically for her. Grandma turned the second she saw me and said, "Good, you're awake. Wear shoes. We're clearing this house out." I said, "What do you mean we're clearing this house out?" She pointed at the driveway and said, "Exactly what it looks like. Too many people, too many things, too much nonsense." Noah walked past me, carrying a lamp, and whispered, "She's in a purge mood." And honestly, that was accurate. Apparently, Grandma had decided that since 11 people lived in the house, and at least 8 of them refused to throw anything away, we had become, in her words, a family of decorative hoarders. My mom tried to explain that normal people usually discuss a yard sale before creating one, but Grandma said discussing it would have given people time to hide things, which again should have been our warning. At first, it actually looked kind of normal. We put old chairs out, some books, toys nobody touched anymore, a blender that Ryan claimed still worked, which meant it absolutely did not, random house stuff, a box of decorations, 2 mirrors, a pile of old jackets. Pretty harmless. Then Melissa came out carrying 3 handbags and announced that if people wanted quality, they had to pay quality prices. Grandma looked at one of the bags and said, "Wasn't that Alicia's?" Melissa smiled without blinking and said, "We share." Alicia, from the porch, said, "No, we absolutely do not." Melissa said Alicia hadn't used it in months. Alicia said that wasn't the point. My mom already looked stressed, and we had not even officially opened. Then Sophie came outside, saw a stack of clothes on one of the tables, and froze. She said, "Why is my denim jacket out here?" Nobody answered. She picked it up and looked around like she was about to accuse the wind. Then she found a pair of boots. Her boots. Then a purse. Then, somehow, a whole box of accessories that were definitely hers. She turned to my mom and said, "Why are my things in the yard sale?" My mom said she thought those were old clothes from the hallway closet. Sophie said they were not old. They were vintage. Alicia snorted and said, "You bought that jacket 3 months ago." Sophie said, "Vintage is a mindset." Noah nearly dropped a box laughing. My mom apologized and told Sophie to take out anything that was actually hers. That should have solved it. It did not solve it, because 10 minutes later, the neighbors started showing up. Then random people started pulling over. Then a woman with sunglasses and way too much confidence walked straight up to the tables, picked up Sophie's purse and said, "Cute. How much?" Sophie lunged across the table like a wild animal. She said, "Not for sale." The woman looked annoyed and said, "Then why is it here?" And Sophie, with the full rage of someone whose Sunday had just died, said, "Because my family is stupid." The woman put the purse down and walked away. Grandma said, "Well, that was unnecessary." Sophie said, "So is selling my life to strangers." Meanwhile, Ryan was trying to sell the broken blender to a man in cargo shorts by describing it as temperamental but powerful, which is exactly how people talk about things that catch fire. Noah had somehow set up a side section called Mystery Box Items, where he put random junk from the garage and told people each bag was $5, because the surprise is part of the fun. I asked him what was even inside them. He said, "Mostly wires, one spoon, maybe a remote. It's an experience." I told him that sounded like a scam. He said, "Only if they complain." Then Melissa started getting way too comfortable. At first, she was helping people browse. Then she was negotiating prices. Then she started pulling things out of the house that I know had not been part of the original yard sale. A candle set from the living room, a throw blanket from the sofa, one of my mom's serving trays, a framed photo. I stared at her and said, "Why are you bringing house stuff out here?" Melissa didn't even look embarrassed. She just said, "If they can buy it, we don't need it." That sentence alone should have gotten her banned from decisions forever. Then it got worse. Alicia came running out of the house yelling, "Who touched my makeup case?" Everybody turned. Melissa kept looking very intensely at a box of kitchen utensils, which told me everything. Alicia walked to the table, looked down, and yes, her makeup case was sitting between a flower vase and a stack of DVDs with a $2 sticker on it. Alicia picked it up like it was evidence in a crime investigation. She said, "This is not garage sale energy. This is theft." Melissa said nobody was stealing. People were decluttering. Alicia said putting someone else's makeup out for $5 was not decluttering. Noah whispered, "Honestly, 5 was disrespectful." I almost pushed him. At that exact moment, Sophie started acting weird. I watched her walk through the sale, pretending to look around, then casually pick up one of her own sunglasses from a table and slip them into her hoodie pocket. Then she grabbed a bracelet, then a hair clip. Then, unbelievably, she took out cash. I stared at her and said, "Are you trying to secretly buy back your own things?" She looked at me like I was the stupid one and said, "If Grandma sees me just taking them, she'll say I'm ruining the sale." Which, honestly, was probably true, but that still meant my cousin was moving around her own driveway like an undercover shopper trying to rescue her personal belongings from our relatives. And then Emma ruined everything. She pointed straight at Sophie and yelled, "She's stealing from herself again." The whole driveway went silent. Sophie froze. Grandma turned slowly and said, "Again?" Emma nodded and kept eating crackers from a sandwich bag. Yes, she already saved the sunglasses. Sophie closed her eyes like she was trying to leave her body. Melissa laughed. Alicia laughed harder. My mom looked like she no longer believed in happiness. And Grandma, instead of acting shocked, just said, "Then pay properly like everybody else." I am not joking. Sophie had to stand there in public and buy back 2 bracelets, 1 pair of sunglasses, and her own belt from a folding table in our driveway while neighbors watched. If that had been the end, it still would have been humiliating enough. But we are not a family that believes in stopping. About an hour in, business was weirdly good. People were buying things. Noah had made $20 off mystery bags full of trash. Ryan had sold the broken blender to a man who clearly enjoyed danger. Melissa was acting like she personally invented commerce. Grandma was thriving. Then a girl from Sophie's school showed up with her mother. And of course she did. Because public embarrassment in this family always has witnesses. The second Sophie saw her, she stood up straighter and tried to act normal, which was impossible because she was literally standing behind a table full of her own accidental wardrobe. The girl picked up Sophie's scarf and said, "Oh my God, I love this." Sophie said, "Way too fast. You can't have it." The girl looked confused and said, "But it's at your yard sale." Sophie said, "It's complicated." The girl's mom asked how much, and before Sophie could answer, Melissa leaned in with the smile of a villain and said, $10. Sophie turned to her so fast, I thought her neck might snap. She said, "Why would you say that?" Melissa shrugged, because she asked. The girl from school looked between them like she had just realized this was not a normal shopping experience. Then she slowly put the scarf down and said maybe she'd come back later. She was never coming back later. Sophie looked like she might actually cry, and that should have softened Melissa. It did not. Instead, Melissa said, "If you people kept your things organized, none of this would happen." Alicia said, "If you kept your hands to yourself, none of this would happen." Ryan said, "Fair." Melissa turned on him, and that's when my mom finally snapped a little. She walked into the middle of the driveway and said no more bringing things out from the house. No more pricing items that weren't yours. No more surprise decluttering. Whatever was already outside could stay, but that was it. Everybody agreed for about 4 minutes. Then Noah came out holding a sealed shoebox. He said he found it in the back of the closet and asked if it was for sale. Grandma said, "Open it." He did. Inside was a pair of white heels. There was 1 full second of silence. Then Melissa and my mom both said, "Absolutely not," which was weird because nobody in this house wears white heels. Noah looked confused. Ryan looked uncomfortable. Alicia narrowed her eyes, and Grandma said, "Put those away." That sentence landed hard because now it wasn't a yard sale anymore. Now it was a mystery. Sophie immediately asked whose shoes they were. Nobody answered. Alicia asked why they were hidden in a closet. Still, nobody answered. Then Emma, who had been silent for almost 10 full minutes, a miracle, said, "Those are from before." I hate when she says things like that. Sophie said, "Before what?" Emma just shrugged and said, "Before people started lying." Noah whispered, "I need answers." Same. My mom took the shoebox from him and told everybody to mind their business, which obviously made the whole thing 10 times worse. Because the fastest way to make this family obsessed with something is to tell them not to ask about it. For the next half hour, nobody focused on the yard sale anymore. Alicia kept trying to figure out who the shoes belonged to. Sophie started making theories. Noah said maybe they were evidence. Ryan suddenly found new reasons to stay in the garage. Melissa got weirdly quiet. Grandma looked deeply unsurprised, which meant she definitely knew something. My mom kept trying to redirect everybody towards selling old lamps. Nobody cared about the lamps. Then, because the universe loves us just enough to make things worse, the woman in sunglasses came back. And she was holding one of Noah's mystery bags. She walked straight up the driveway and said, "Excuse me, why did I pay $5 for a spoon, 2 phone chargers that don't fit anything, and a broken calculator?" Noah smiled like customer service had finally called him to greatness. He said, Because it was a mystery. The woman said, "This is not a mystery. This is trash." Noah said that was subjective. She demanded her money back. Melissa told Noah to give it back. Noah said all sales were final. Grandma said, "Not if the bag contained nonsense." The woman said she also found a birthday card in it, a used birthday card. Noah looked at me and whispered, "I thought that added character." I actually had to turn away because if I looked at him, I was going to laugh, and the situation was too bad for that. My mom gave the woman $5 from her own wallet, apologized, and then told Noah he was done selling anything. He said entrepreneurship was wasted on this family. Then Sophie screamed from the porch. We all turned. She was holding one of the white heels, just one. She said, "There were 2 in the box. Where's the other one?" No one moved, and that was honestly impressive because in this family, people usually react before thinking. Sophie came down the steps holding the heel like she was in a detective show. She said if someone was trying to hide something weird, they clearly hadn't hidden it well enough. Alicia asked why she even cared. Sophie said because random hidden white heels in a house full of liars is not normal. Fair. Then Emma pointed at Ryan. Ryan looked betrayed by his own face. He said, "Why are you pointing at me?" Emma said, "Because you looked guilty." Ryan said that meant nothing. Grandma said, "In this family, it usually means something." And there it was. The driveway froze again. Ryan rubbed his face, looked at my mom, looked at the shoebox, and then said the sentence that officially killed the yard sale forever. He said, "They were for a proposal that never happened." I swear the air changed. Melissa went still. My mom stared. Alicia said, "What?" Sophie forgot she was holding the shoe. Noah looked like Christmas had arrived early. And Grandma just muttered, "Finally." Apparently, and I am still mad about the timing of this, years ago, before Melissa had been fully Melissa, Ryan had planned to propose. He had bought the shoes for a dinner, hidden them in the closet, and then everything fell apart before he could use them. Nobody knew, not even Melissa, somehow, which honestly might have explained why she looked so weird. For one rare moment, nobody made a joke. Even Noah was quiet. Melissa sat down on the porch step and looked like she had no idea what expression to make. Angry didn't fit. Smug didn't fit. Sad almost did, which was deeply unsettling to witness. Then she quietly said, "You never told me that." Ryan said, "There wasn't really a good time after everything." And suddenly, the whole loud, ridiculous day got quiet in a way that felt real for once. No more bargaining, no more yelling, no more mystery bags. Even the neighbors who were still browsing started pretending not to listen. My mom told everyone to start packing up. Nobody argued. We folded the tables, put the leftovers back in boxes. Sophie rescued the rest of her things without having to buy them again. Noah was banned from business forever. Alicia kept stealing looks at Melissa, probably because seeing her speechless was like spotting a rare animal. Grandma moved slower than usual, but she didn't say much. By the time the driveway was finally empty, the whole house felt strange. Not calmer exactly, just honest. Later that night, I found my mom in the kitchen putting away a box of unsold stuff. She looked exhausted. I asked if Grandma was mad the sale ended early. My mom said Grandma wasn't mad. She just thought the house needed less clutter and more truth, which sounded dramatic, but after the day we'd had, it also sounded annoyingly correct. Then from the living room, I heard Noah say he still thought the mystery bags had potential, and Melissa, of all people, told him to shut up. So yeah. That was the day our quick family yard sale turned into public humiliation, accidental theft, driveway capitalism, emotional property damage, and a proposal secret nobody was supposed to find in a shoebox. Just a totally normal Sunday with this family.